Roll call, please.
Joe Palmer,
Present.
Chris Potter,
Present.
John Virtue,
Present.
Eric Woods, Jeremy Newcomer,
Present.
and Bud McQuaid.
Present.
And just a quick reminder to the people in the audience and up here, please, please, please use your microphone. We've had 2 calls this week for a variety of meetings, not just ours, but where they cannot hear for the ones that are watching online. So pull it down and push it back up, whatever you need to do.
Okay, did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes? I think John stated that he didn't get the attachments, right? Right. Did everybody else get them or?
Yes.
Okay. Chris?
So, yes.
Okay. That tells me you're busy.
Yes.
Okay, we'll get back to the minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at them?
I'll look to approve the notes.
Okay, motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Jeremy seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next is public comment. Brett Pitzer, you'd like to step up to the mic and the podium?
I got some packets for you guys. I can pass
You
out.
can pass them out.
I only brought 5. I thought there was more tonight.
Yeah, we can
Technically,
share
there
at some
is
point.
5. Bud's our school board advisor. He doesn't get a vote, but he's here at the meetings.
I'll share. I'll share with him.
I'm sorry, but
If he listens,
It's okay,
he'll
I'm
get
used
it
to
all anyway, right?
yeah, all right. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Brett Pitzer, a lifelong resident of Frankfort, born and raised on 5th and Boone Street, still live there. I'm here to ask for some funding for the restoration of the historic Coca-Cola sign that's located on Washington Street in Frankfort. The sign's been part of the downtown landscape for many years, but as you guys know, it's significantly faded and deteriorated. Restoring it will preserve a recognizable piece of Frankfort's history while improving the appearance of an important gateway along the Washington Street corridor downtown all the way through Prairie Creek. It'll create an attractive landmark for residents and visitors to enjoy. Like I could just imagine everybody from Thursday Thunder pulling out of there, snapping some Instagram pictures, all the classic cars. Like who doesn't want to restore some public art and bring up our downtown character? I mean, it's what you guys have been doing for like the last 10 years. And I just wanted to figure out, something that I could do to help the process. And so I put the packet together and see if we can get through this. And if you look through it, you'll see that I got the property owner permission already. I got authorization from Coca-Cola, 2 estimates from some local artists, and a before and after picture. And going through it, if you look, Perkins Signs, they came in at the lowest at $6,700. Jennifer Davis of Art Girl Davis here in town came in at $10,000, and Tornado Roofing went ahead and put $1,000 towards it. So that would bring us down to $5,700. And I think that's probably a reasonable sum to try to get this done. If you guys got any questions, you can ask me or Clint.
Any questions for him?
I know Rick Cortez has been painting a lot of stuff around town. Did you happen to get a price from him or talk to him?
No, I have not. I reached out to a couple other local artists, and Jennifer and Clint were the first ones to reach out to me. I didn't get anybody else in time. As you know, talking with you, I kind of threw this together in like a week span. And so this is what I could come up with.
Okay. I will make a comment that when Dr. Snyder was painting her building, I'm the one that kind of threw the red flag in there or whatever that I'd like to eventually, it'd be nice to see that mural repainted and put back on there. So, of course, I love all the old art that sells things that was around. So that's just me.
I'm in favor of getting it done. I know I had talked with Jill Snyder when she owned the building, and a lot of people said, well, you're not preserving it if you redo it. I disagree. Some people said just put a finish over it the way it is and have it as a ghost sign. I don't necessarily like that.
No, like the one in Lafayette went over real well when they
I've
did
seen
that
the
one.
one in Lafayette. I don't know who did that one. You knew who did that one?
I can't recall offhand. I had looked it up, but Since I'm a local guy, I just like, I'll get a hold of local artists and I
been
know
by that
that.
and I looked at it. When I was trying to get her to do it, I looked at that one. I didn't think they did a great job on the one in Lafayette. It looks great from a distance.
Yeah, I haven't seen it up close at all.
Kind of amateurish, like when you look at it up close. I don't know if they had some art students do it or what happened, but
Yeah, I think there was one individual that did it. But and after seeing, Clinton, what his dad does, and they just did the caboose uptown and everybody's seen that, they're like the most professional sign people we have. So
right.
I just kind of felt like they're with that quote, I was like, that's probably the best we can come up with.
And Tornado Roofing's willing to donate 1,000 of the price.
Yeah. So that would bring it down to 5,700.
I agree with you. I think it needs to be done.
So what's the board's pleasure? We could actually, I'm not gonna say run it under facade grant, but we could.
Right.
So
Tornado Roofing donating 1,000, that definitely helps a little bit. I guess I would be in favor of getting it done.
I think you did a nice job putting this packet together. I don't know the person you recommended for a potential another quote. I think, is that another local person?
Yes.
And they've done other work in town. I think we should at least give them the opportunity to put in a bid on it as well.
Are they located in Monticello now or?
Rick was living, I go way back with Rick. We graduated high school together. I know he moved up north and he was working at a factory up there, but he has come back and painted a lot of stuff. He does a lot of the windows and stuff, especially around the holidays. Wasn't Rick working on another mural?
talking about Ricardo?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still busy on some other projects. He's, I know that Main Street's talking to him about possibly working on the other mural that we got, or not we, but the one that's get some problems going on
Yeah, it definitely
about
needs to be
him
redone.
touching it up, but that's, that portion of it is another subject for another group, so, but yeah, he's still doing a lot. The other day he was out there with, and this probably goes back to you guys, he was out there with a set of head sights on, and he could see a fire truck on the building where Iron Block's at, and then he all of a sudden he started drawing it on there and put it right over the old paint. So, but I mean, I don't know how busy he is, but that's,
I don't know. Like I said, I'm in favor of doing it. Whatever the board's pleasure is, as far as if we want to ask for another estimate, that's fine.
I think you got two estimates here, so.
Yeah, and I don't have any experience with any kind of murals painting. I know I've had a little bits of work done inside some places, but never a big project like this. But I would love to see it done.
Now, I tried to
That's
kick this
Perkins.
can down the road before too with Jill owned the building about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I got some estimates and they
And
were
I-
all about
At the time,
$10,000.
I had 3 restaurants. We were serving Coca-Cola, and I tried to get Coca-Cola to pay for it, and they wouldn't do it.
No, they won't. I can't believe that they actually just emailed me back as quick as they did and said, yeah, do whatever, just don't change it. Because that seemed to be the
We
biggest
can let,
problem.
we can let Mr. Perkins talk too
So
there, so.
I just have one kind of comment based on mural. So there is a difference between a mural painter and a sign painter. Does anyone else have the skills? Yes. The end result is the paints we use are way higher grades than latex or, Sherwin-Williams paint even. It's a oil-based enamels, like the original was originally painted with. So I know there's kind of a stigma. Mural painters can paint anything and letter everything. Yes, it may be true, but I feel in my experience and my years in the industry, you can still tell a difference. Like you mentioned, some imperfections in the one Lafayette. That's just those small nuances that you would see in the differences between a sign painter,
Using the
and
materials.
a mural artist.
Using materials you used, how long should that thing last without needing any touch-ups?
With the way it's going to be prepped, I see 15 years before it even starts to fade.
Okay.
So, I mean, like that sign, it's lasted for generations, you know.
There's probably a
Um,
coating over it when you're done, right?
It being enamel coated or enamel paints, there's no need.
Okay.
Could you add a secondary coat of clear? Yes, you can. And that might be a good option just because of vandals. You know, they have clear coats that prevent or easy removal of spray paints and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's possible if you wanted an extra layer of protection.
Is the brick in good shape for paint and won't require any?
So it will need, I didn't see any tuck pointing issues. I did see, obviously it needs pressure washed, hit with a wire brush, and a good couple coats of block primer put on it. So, but I don't see any extensive repairs needed on the wall.
Being on the west side with the direct sunlight on it, does that pose an issue for you?
Again, not with really the paints we use. I mean, they're made for exterior. And again, they're not just latex or, you know, Home Depot type paint. It's a, you know, about the highest quality outdoor
was thinking-
advertisement paint you can get.
Yeah, I was thinking more of a sealer on it. Just to kind of give a.
Just help UV a little
protector,
more.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Protective layer.
Yeah. And again, would that add more cost? Yes. Am I willing to help with that? Obviously. So.
Can it be put on 2, 3, 4 years from now? Say we do it just normal.
Right.
Feel like we need to have another coat of protection. Can it be?
It can be.
I'm assuming it's going to be sprayed on then,
The clear it would just be a rolled on.
rolled on.
And that'd help you build up more of a coating as well.
Mhm.
So, can it be reapplied? Absolutely. You know, as long as it's your typical issues and the brick's still in good condition. You know what I mean? All the other things that go into play with that. So, but adding that second layer would help it last much longer. So, significantly, probably not, but for the most part, it would.
How long do you anticipate it would take if you had approval?
Week and a half. That'd be pressure washing, priming. Once we get it blocked out, so the process would be come in, pressure wash it. We'd be come back next day, prime it. Hopefully get 2 coats of primer on it that day. Next day, come back and do the white base, then come back and do the other coloring. So it should be week and a half.
Who controls the liability on the work itself? Does the property owner? Does it become part of our responsibility?
So as a business owner, I carry insurance.
I mean, the owner of the building,
but
the
the-
wall. Yeah.
Yeah, that I couldn't tell you that.
I'm gonna guess the owners, it's their
Yeah, it'd have to
responsibility.
be.
But what if we okay the money, the work is done, someone buys the building, decides, I'm a Pepsi drinker, you know? Let's
Right.
paint over it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think once it's revived that would be even a
But we don't have any say.
consideration
We
in
wouldn't have
there.
any say on it.
Probably not. No.
Jumping in here, from a legal perspective, if we don't own the building and we don't have any sort of restrictive covenant on the deed, then they could absolutely get rid of the mural. What you would want to do is, if the owner would allow you to, you can put a covenant on the deed that says that they're not allowed to remove the mural. And if they do, they have to replace it. And that could run with the land, and or there could be like a penalty or something like that. But unless you did something like that and you got the owner to agree, there's no way that you could protect that on your own unless you purchase the building.
Okay. All right, what's the board's pleasure? I can talk to Jenny about doing something like that, but you know.
Yeah, I think it's a building owner's best interest if that is done. I think it makes their building look nicer. With the development, the money's being spent on the old police station right down there by it. It'd be
Right.
nice to help keep that side of town, you know, let's get it looking good. I'm in favor of doing it.
I'll
that
make
a motion?
I'll make a motion. We appropriate the $5,700 for the mural.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve up to the 5,700. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? You guys can get started. We won't pay until you're done though.
Right.
So however you want to do that,
Right.
but then take it into Wanda in the clerk treasurer's office. And she'll write you out a check.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Make sure I'll work on that.
All right, everybody get a chance to look at the claims.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the claims as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Claims passed. John, I called you and I think even Bud was involved, but on 60 East Washington, we really didn't do a preliminary approval on that.
This is Louis Evans building.
This is Louis Evans building on the roof. But I had enough A's to go ahead and let him start while, because of the rain, it was getting bad. So if you want to talk about it, or I think you and Bud talked about it too, didn't you?
A little bit.
Yeah, well, it obviously needed done. I think they had leaks inside there. Of course, a lot of people had leaks downtown in this massive rain we had the last couple of weeks. I know Pepe's they haven't got their roof done yet. They had a big leak. So I believe we still have the funds and it needed to be done. And we've already told them yes, so we need to make a motion on that.
I would just to have a formal approval.
Okay, I'll make a motion. We approve the claim for the roof on, is it 60 East?
60 East of Washington. I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly what the price was. Do you remember?
I don't recall.
Okay.
It was under the,
It was under 20,
yes.
but I don't remember where it was at. So
Have they signed the facade grant application?
they filled out the application. And I would thought she would have emailed it or something.
I think I did get an email on that. And I believe a facade grant application has been filled out.
Who was it for?
It's for Louis Evans.
Louis Evans, 60 East Washington. I'll see if I can pull it up here. Yeah, got so many emails, I'm not going. Wanda, did you have a copy of that?
I actually have no paperwork on it.
Okay. So it would have went to Rob.
Yeah, I got the email from Rob.
That's who it was submitted to,
Yes.
so. Yeah. I don't have it because it would have been sent to you and Bud, so. But anyway. We do definitely know it was less than the 20 on the facade grant. And Tornado was doing the job. He already had it worked out with them to get on it as quick as he could. I hate to do just your motion without having a dollar figure though.
Well, I found the email if I can get it to open. Doesn't appear to be an attachment on this, but he has filled this out apparently.
Well, I know the application was filled, but I never did remember the exact dollar figure.
I mean, there it is. Okay. The total cost of the project's 30,000. He's asking for 15.
Okay, so if you do that in your motion,
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion. We approve the $15,000 for the roof on 60 East Washington.
do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the facade grant for 60 East Washington for 15,000. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. There wasn't nothing else under facade grants that you can think of, was there?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Drop down to contract services. I transferred some money in there because we've got some studies that's getting ready to happen. I just wanted everybody to know that request from the mayor and that we just transferred some money in there to help them with some legal and engineering type fees. So I don't really need, I mean, I just wanted everybody to be aware on it. So, all right, Kimberly Black. And this is, I put it under economic development too, so.
Good evening. I have approached the council about this and wanted to ask you all as well for, Joe Murphy is here this evening from Garmon Construction. We are looking at a way to bring more economic development to the core city of Frankfort. Not just the high level of working with the county, but looking at even some of the low hanging fruits, is what I call them. And Joe has a kind of a short presentation to kind of talk to you about what he would be bringing to the table. I believe you all got this in your packets. On the second to last page is the scope of work that Joe would be providing for us. He has done this in the city of Marion, and the mayor actually has a meeting with the mayor of Marion as well to go over a couple other things. But I know that this is kind of a out of the box idea, but there's so many opportunities that I think that sometimes we miss, or maybe we don't always have, proper processes in place. And I think having Joe on board to be able to be a part of the team with the city of Frankfort, the Redevelopment Commission, working with utilities in the North Central Indiana region, kind of bringing us all together, working with Cheyenne at the county level, and providing, another economic development opportunity for us. So Joe, I'll kind of follow up after you're done.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Joe Murphy. As Kimberly stated, I work for Garmon Construction Services, and I have been, excuse me, in economic development my entire career. Young guy, so not a terribly extensive career, but I've been practicing in the field for 9 years, and I've been in municipalities both as a full-time professional as well as a consultant during that entire time. I got my start in the city of Lawrence, which is one of the excluded cities of Marion County, working for Mayor Steve Collier as his deputy chief of staff for a little over 4 years, and managed his economic development program there. Ultimately, when his term came to an end, I moved over to Garmon to practice as a private consultant. In that time, I have served actually the city of Lawrence again as a contract employee. I've worked in Jackson County, Indiana. I've worked and continue to work in Hendricks County, Indiana, managing their real estate and development opportunities. And most recently, I've spent the last 2.5 years working for the city of Marion as a contract employee of the city, Though as I walk into that community, they recognize me as their economic development director, as well as the executive director of their redevelopment commission. In fact, I'll be going home tonight and preparing to drive up to Marion tomorrow at 1:30. We've got our executive session and our regular meeting of the redevelopment commission up there, where we'll be contemplating some really exciting projects. So very well versed in this space. Also bring background in existing work in construction, which can often be helpful in some of these opportunities. But if it's all right with the commission, I'd just like to kind of flesh out generally what I would be doing for the city if we were to approve my contract, and kind of running through the scope of services without trying to be terribly repetitive. But if anybody ever has any questions, please feel free to jump in. But I just kind of want to provide an overarching statement, which is I think that economic development, whether it's Frankfort or it's Indianapolis or it's Fort Wayne or any other community, is incredibly important and is becoming increasingly important in kind of the later 2020s and into the 30s as we kind of experience some newest versions of property tax reform, and understanding that working capital and new assessed value into your community is going to be incredibly important to maintain services, to maintain functions of the community. And so I hope that I can be an add to that and bringing new investment in this community, and also helping with expanding our existing industry. So just looking at the scope of services that I'm offering here, starting at the top, business retention expansion. It can't go understated that the vast majority of economic development projects and the vast majority of growth that communities experience are from existing businesses in town. And it works on both ends. We can also help identify early and correct issues if we talk to businesses in the community when they're not doing well, right? And so part of my role would be just conducting those outreach meetings and making sure that I understand those business owners' needs and can help them when there's opportunity for expansion, whether that's seeking some kind of tax abatement or other incentive to allow them to perform that expansion, or it's that they're struggling, they're coming on hard times, and there's something that we as a community can do to try to address that, to hopefully hold off on a layoff or hold off on a reduction in services. And that's an incredibly important part of the job, and a very labor intensive part of the job that often goes underlooked if you don't have, adequate staffing. Business attraction is kind of the meat and potatoes. That's what gets the headlines, but is a very involved in process. And oftentimes we are very fortunate in communities, and we have opportunities land in our lap. We have site selectors just come to town and identify a parcel and buy it up and start developing, and that's wonderful. But you certainly leave something on the table if you don't have an active business attraction strategy where you're actually out meeting with your landowners, out engaging with the site selectors, out engaging with the developers and the owners, and not just in the industrial, but in the retail and the housing space, both multifamily and single family, to better understand the marketplace, better understand what you can actually accept as a community. That's important. People want to, when you talk with those developers, when you talk with those site selectors, they don't want to just hear the feel-good stories. They love those at the end, but you need to lead with facts. And so part of that would be developing those information sheets so that we can go out and speak really from a high level of education with these site selectors and make sure that they're very interested in the community. But ultimately, all that comes back to the community and moves into the next bullet point, which is that incentive negotiation and structuring. So, more often than not, as we pursue a more growth-oriented mindset as a community, we have to become more active as a redevelopment commission, as a city, in partnering and making these deals that are going to be really win-wins for both the community and the company. But more often than not, that requires, resources like TIF, resources like tax abatement, and other economic development tools that the state of Indiana has blessed us with, and we ought to use when appropriate to make sure that we can continue to grow as a community. And quickly kind of wrapping up here, I think real estate development management ties into business attraction. More often than not, the site that you want, it's advantageous to have it under your control. And there's also opportunity to correct blight and address issues within your community that are existing by establishing control over real estate and then being able to control the marketing and sale of that property directly. Those can be really long and arduous processes. And again, I would be happy to lend a hand there and really accelerating that turnover of property and seeing new and flourishing business come into town in our existing structures that we want to maintain and not let them further deteriorate to the point where they have to be demolished. And then last but not least, I think that coordination partnership is really paramount. I just attended a couple weeks ago the Indiana Economic Development Summer Conference, and one of the things, there was a lot of great information that was shared at that conference, but one of the lasting legacies, for me at least, was during a seminar, which was a group of panelists, 6 in total, 3 different communities that had a representative from either the council or the mayor's office, and then the local economic development professional from that community, and the question was asked to the public, and it was kind of a rhetorical question, but it was a group of economic development professionals that said, raise your hand if you've ever completed a deal start to finish on your own. Nobody in the room could raise a hand. There's, hundreds of years of experience in that room. So coordinating with our regional partners, making sure we have a really strong relationship with our IEDC rep, making sure that we're engaged IEDA with our other professionals in the organization, making sure we understand the needs of the community, the Chamber of Commerce, the Community Foundation, and then, of course, the county government as well. Being the county seat, it's important that we have that relationship, and that especially as we look out to our west and understand that new area that we've annexed, and I do understand maybe there's some county TIFs that overlap in that area. That collaboration is going to be incredibly important to making sure that we can bring development into the community. So making sure that we can have that active communication and partnership, because these deals, if they're successful, it's because there's a lot of people working on them collectively and driving towards a goal, which is growth in the community. So that's kind of the wrap up. Other than obviously administrative and advisory responsibilities, my expectation would be that I would be attending a number of these meetings and providing you guys with regular updates of my activities. So you're not just out there wondering what's going on in the community. Be here direct reporting to you on active projects and prospects, as well as to the council and the mayor's office. So, and then providing written reports as requested. The other thing I would mention is that I recognize that the community is undergoing a comprehensive plan review right now, or development of a new comprehensive plan. So I look forward to engaging that process, providing advice where it's warranted on future land use maps, and making sure that we set ourselves up with that document for really success in the future, and making sure that we identify those areas of town where we want to see that growth, and we can really be targeted about making sure that we're focused on engaging with those landowners, making sure that they're, respected and engaged with in the appropriate way, so that when growth does come and these opportunities do come before them, they don't feel like they're being railroaded by the community and the institutions. So with that, I'll kind of take a pause. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have, whether it's about my scope of services, previous work experience, or anything else.
Can you give us an example of what you've done for some other communities similar to Frankfort? And how would you apply that to Frankfort? What you could do for Frankfort?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So as I mentioned, I've spent a large portion of my recent career in the city of Marion. In the last 2.5 years, while I've served there with Mayor Morrell, we've announced over $250 million in new development, ranging from everything from the rehabilitation of a middle school building using a local developer, all the way to bringing in folks who had never stepped foot in Marion and launching new and collaborative development opportunities for mixed use downtown. So two projects that I can highlight for you really quickly. The Jones Heritage Middle School building that had been closed for over 10 years. We identified as a key priority for our community. It sits just off our downtown, and we engaged a local developer. He owns a retirement community and some other assisted living facilities in town. Had never really been engaged in the private development space in this way, and we engaged him because we recognized that he had a love for that building, having been a former student there, and really a love for his community and a desire to see his community grow, and a really strong friendship with the mayor. And we brought him in, and again, through the Redevelopment Commission, we're able to secure the building with this partnership and create a campus approach to help develop what's going to amount to 80 multifamily units, about 20% of which will be workforce housing. The other 80% will be market rate housing. And then the back of the property, because it was a fairly large property, we're going to tear out the track and football field, the soccer fields, all the other stuff. We're building flex industrial space on the south end, which is actually kind of a new concept. I'd encourage you to look it up. It's actually called BUILT, B-U-I-L-T. It's coming to communities all across the central Indiana through this partnership that we launched in Marion, where there's going to be modular units, 600 square feet, all the way up to about 2,400 square feet, where people can actually come in, rent month to month, or sign year-long leases to kind of help with the early infancy of that kind of blue collar style workforce. We have a lot of incubator space for our white collar businesses. We have a lot of incubator space in our education facilities for those think tank type businesses. We don't have a lot of that in the industrial and the blue collar space. And so this is an effort to bring that to the forefront in Marion, a community that's thrived on blue collar business for a long, long time. So we've got that going on the south end. And then the north end, as phase two, we're going to bring in 140 owner occupied townhomes. So there are going to be a net of about 220 new units of housing over the next 3 years as a result of that project. And I think it's a total of almost 100,000 square feet of flex industrial space that's going to come about there over the next 2 years. So, and that was, again, a dilapidated former middle school building that, with the exception of the exterior walls, had to be completely gutted and renovated, and was made possible through the partnership with the city. So that's one example where we're able to take an existing building and reuse it and bring it into new life and provide for our community and the growth in our community. And then similarly, in our downtown space, we were able to acquire. So we've got McClure Gas Station. They're one of the major investors in Marion. They had a big plume of gasoline at one of their facilities spill out onto some adjacent parcels. And this even predates my time a little bit, but we were able to successfully acquire all the parcels surrounding that facility. We worked with the EPA to establish the cleanup process, put in monitoring wells to make sure that there was no further contamination moving forward. But the Redevelopment Commission went out and actively acquired and remediated that land. And then we were able to bring Shelby Bowen with Redevelopment, who's a major developer out in kind of the McCordsville, Fortville area, who's done some really exciting product out there. We brought him up to Marion to do the first brand new multifamily housing development project in downtown Marion in 30 years. And so we compiled about a total, I think it was about a total of 6 parcels of land. Took about 2 or 3 years to do that. Went through the remediation process, and then again, using our economic development tools, we're able to partner with Mr. Bowen and establish a brand new multifamily development that's also got some retail on the first floor. So we actually just had a tour of that last week. We're going to be hopefully welcoming the first tenants into that building sometime in February of next year. It's going to be 44 units of market rate apartments and about 3,000 or 3,500 square foot of retail on the first floor. The retail space is actually going to be occupied by a brand new spinoff of an existing restaurant in town. It's going to be a high-end steak and seafood type place, something that we don't currently have as an option in our community. So it's bringing an opportunity for a local business to spin into a new marketplace, and it's also going to offer our constituents, our community members, a new dining option in our downtown area. And that entire area, which encompasses both those projects as well as some others I'd be happy to share with you at another date, is inside of a riverfront district. So one of the very first things we did, another economic development tool that if we're not familiar with, and if you don't think, oh, we don't have a stream in our community, I can tell you that's a piece of legislation that's been used and abused to the maximum extent. And I'm not above doing it here in Frankfort if it helps us grow our downtown retail businesses. My hometown city of Lawrence is actually doing one right now on a creek that I didn't even know existed. But anyways, that's beside the point. We established a riverfront district, which allowed us to access things like additional liquor licenses. It made the development process a lot easier for some other folks and has really spurred new development among our local business in the dining areas. And so, you know, I would say 3 years ago in that downtown district, the area between the county courthouse and the riverfront, and we have a legitimate riverfront in Marion. When I walked into town 2.5 years ago, I was aware of 2 businesses that were open for primarily lunch, did dinner occasionally, and 1 coffee shop. We've now got 5 operational full-time restaurants, most of which are open pretty much from 10 a.m. all the way through 1, 2 in the morning, some of them, including a local Irish pub, a new barbecue place, a Mexican restaurant that has a family section that's, you know, not only serves beer and wine and it doesn't have a full bar, and then a tavern that's located in the basement that, you know, does karaoke until the late hours of the night. And then, like I said, we're going to be bringing in this new higher end restaurant as well. And we've got another development that'll be breaking ground next month that's going to bring 2 new restaurants into the community as well. So really has done a lot. The Riverfront District in combination with our economic development efforts and completely revitalizing a downtown that frankly was on life support and really did not have any activity, especially after 5 p.m. when all the county officials left and went home. So that's just a small snapshot of what we've been able to do now. That took a lot of effort, a lot of collaboration in 2.5 years, but the community is really starting to reap the benefits now, and it's really exciting.
What have you seen in Frankfort that you feel like you could be of assistance on?
I think that you have a tremendous opportunity, not only because of all your regional activity that's been going on, obviously south in Lebanon with the LEAP district, as well as north with all the great things that have been going on in Lafayette. So I think that the strength and growth of Purdue, as well as the development of the Riverfront District, you have an amazing opportunity to be a community that can kind of meet and provide for both ends of that. And I think that the annexation that you guys performed, what was that, back in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, or 24, gives you incredible opportunity to create a new gateway into your community. And ultimately, I think you guys are doing the right thing in performing that comprehensive plan update and really kind of taking the time to be thoughtful about what you want that to become. But then ultimately, like I mentioned, I think that what you need is someone like myself who can go out and work on it daily for you and make sure that, hey, we've identified that this is an area that we want to see some housing growth. You know, frankly, Lennar's not coming and knocking on your door. D.R. Horton's not coming and knocking on your door just because they saw a comp plan published on your website. You know, you've got to be out and talking to their partners, talking to their financial advisors and meeting with them personally and letting them know, hey, I got Ron over here. He's a great guy. He's sitting on 100 acres of land. It's in the new annexed territory. It's serviced by this water utility. Here's what our average median incomes in the area look like. Here's what our housing stock currently looks like. Here's the gap. And we'd like to come in and talk to you about what you could do to partner with us to help fill that gap with a new product. That's the kind of stuff that has to be happening on a day-to-day basis if you want to see high-level economic development day in, day out, not just fun project here, lapse, fun project here, lapse, right? You have to be really aggressive about it. So I think that certainly I would follow Kimberly in the mayor's direction as well as the direction of this body. Ultimately, I am an asset to the community, but I am, you can point me in the direction that you guys want me to focus. But I think that there's just a ton of untapped potential out at that interstate interchange and as well as the entire corridor coming back into town. And then, you can never do enough. I think a community like Frankfort, your downtown is your most important asset. And that's what we focused on in Marion. And we've seen other communities be really successful, but being a county seat, having a downtown square, making sure that that is the destination of your community is incredibly important. So making sure that to the extent we can perform infill work, we can do the redevelopment work that's necessary to make sure that the buildings that we have can stay open, stay vibrant. I think that's an important part of what I would be doing as well. And of course, all of that in collaboration with Kimberly, who already does a tremendous job. This would just be an additional little bit of manpower that we could add to the community that would help hopefully accelerate some of the things that she's already doing.
So I guess, but what you're saying you would have contacts with somebody like DR Horton to possibly get them to put a development project here or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and ultimately we'll do some work on the front end to study and understand exactly so we can come and speak to those folks intelligently. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, once we identify what we want, once we identify kind of what our marketplace is and what we can really go out and actively pursue and not, get turned down and ultimately we'll get turned down. That's okay. But yeah, we've got to put our name and our face and our land in front of those people and really work hard with them to understand what's it going to take to get you this community. And then ultimately we have to craft a deal that, and oftentimes, again, I reference this up front because it's important to understand, but, incentive negotiation and deal structuring is an important part of this and making sure that it's a win-win for both the community and the company to come to town so that they're not just here begrudgingly, but they can be here and be successful for a long time. So, I mean, that's finding the right partners in that is hard. And again, that's single family as an example, multifamily, if that's a desire, we have a lot of partnerships. I mean, it's not hard to drive around the 9 donut counties of Marion County, Indianapolis and understand all the growth that's occurring in those areas, both through the construction side as well as my economic development practice. We have relationships with a lot of those folks that are doing those jobs. And we have seen a desire from a lot of those developers to get into new communities and identify new opportunities for growth because there is kind of a saturation point that's being reached in a lot of those communities like the Carmels and the Westfields and the Noblesvilles where whether it's land is getting too expensive, deals aren't penciling out anymore because it's, there's just not enough people in those areas. I mean, you've seen, in Eastern Hamilton County, in the HSC Fishers area, schools actually losing populations and those communities shrinking. And so it's, there is a demand from a lot of those businesses, a lot of those development companies to identify new and exciting areas for development. And Frankfort's right for that, in my opinion. And I extend that down to retail as well. And of course, the backbone of the community, which is your businesses. We're experiencing one of the biggest periods of industrial growth in our country's history right now. And a lot of that's being driven by tech and AI and all that stuff. And your mileage can vary with that. And I understand and love to have open conversations with you all about that. But ultimately, bringing new jobs and new investment in this community is going to be good for us. The more we can increase our assessed value, we have the ability to hold off on tax increases, maybe even lower tax rates, and again, protect ourselves from any kind of losses that could result from Senate Bill 1 or any future legislation that's going to come in and try to provide tax relief to the individual or the business.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? Kimberly, do you want to come back up? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
So the mayor has asked me to bring an ask to you all of $8,250 from the Redevelopment Commission in response to the remaining part of the year. The contract in whole is $25,000 or up to $25,000 when we first brought this contract into play. And then next year, we are hoping to not exceed a full year's amount of 50,000. So right now, we're just working at from now until the end of December, and then depending on where council stands and where the city stands as a whole, seeing how we can move that forward.
And just if I may speak to one thing on that, I apologize, I'm not using the microphone.
Thank you.
The not to exceed, it is an hourly contract. And so I only bill for time that I spend in the community or spend on behalf of the community. And so typically my expectation is that I want to be in the community at least one day a week. I think it's still important to have face-to-face meetings. So I try to come in and have meetings throughout the day when I'm in town to make sure that I can build relationships with folks like Redevelopment Commission members and presidents and all the great people that are in town here. And then, you know, I'm available to you all 7 days a week as far as calling me during business hours and emailing me. So I'm always on the clock in that respect, but I only bill for time I actually spend dedicated to projects in the community, and I provide detailed invoices. So we will never exceed the amount to that contract, but I will bill monthly, and it'll only be for time actually spent. So hopefully we're busy and we get to that threshold, though not over it, but we'll only bill for time that we spend on your behalf.
This is also a partnership with the city on this. So originally I was asked about possibly 8,000 for this year and then maybe 20,000 next year in our budget. But again, I'll fall back to Kimberly on that one. Also, the paperwork shows that if you choose to go this way in the motion somewhere, I don't see where I need to sign on this, but there's a paper here that says you may have to sign and approve as president for the RDC. So I'll leave it up to the board how you want to do
So
it.
just to clarify, this is a request from the mayor for 8250 this year?
Yes.
Okay.
I will say this is a topic that I do believe does merit some additional discussion. The council has not yet voted upon the support of this. It's not that I disagree with anything Joe said or what Kimberly said. Frankfort definitely has a need. I personally think it just might be a little bit more of a far-reaching need that is going to require some work. I'd floated the idea of a council work session past the mayor. And that's really about the future needs, maybe not what the immediate would be to take stock in what we have. I could maybe see a limited contract allowing that to happen. But as far as the long-term need, I believe that is something Mayor, City Council, and Redevelopment Commission should all be in lockstep with. And I think it's pretty big discussion to be had. So I think regardless of what happens here tonight, you will still see that meeting happen at all. Would suggest that any or all of the Redevelopment Commission members be able to attend that. It's a public meeting. Our work sessions are, so we don't have to worry about quorum concerns when it comes to that.
Well, I think for this year, and correct me, Kimberly, the Board of Works has got the money budgeted somewhere in there for this on their side. So for this year anyway.
I guess my thoughts is this contract just runs to the end of this year, correct?
Yes.
And I guess if it's something we want to try, we would have 4.5 months to see if it's, worth our while. And if we don't feel like it is, we won't grant the money next year.
That's exactly right. So what we're discussing right now is till the December 31st, correct me, right, Joe?
Yes, that first year.
January 1st, it kicks off a new contract.
That's right, yeah. There is a,
Yeah. So this first amount is not to exceed for the remainder of the calendar year. And then there's an annual renewal clause in there, but that would have to be mutually agreed upon. And further, both sides have a 30-day out clause at any point in time as part of that contract. So even if prior to that date, you felt like this wasn't a service that you desired anymore, you do have the ability to exercise that, as does the company.
Okay. What's a pleasure?
Since this is a request from the mayor and it would be on a trial basis, I guess, in a year. I think we should approve this. I will make a motion that we approve this grant of 8250.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to approve it for this year for the 8250 or 8,250, I guess. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll see you again somewhere. Kimberly won in January or
Eric, when are you
December.
looking at having that work session on this?
It kind of depends on where the agenda falls. I would say by October at the latest.
Okay, you'll keep us informed on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, other things I've got, moving down to old business, property acquisition. I was telling Eric a minute ago, I take 2 steps forward and then go back 4. So, 308 North Main. That was the comment from Rob that she had said if we'd bump it 5,000, she would can do it. Next thing I know, she's got 2 or 3 other bidders, that's interested. So that being said, we'll just have to wait and see what happens on that. There is a couple of proposals here. I will tell you on the McCullum's property, we're still working on that. We have not sat down and had a roundtable if you want to talk about that, but they're still interested in selling. But Dave's Automotive, the appraisals was done on it. I have not approached him. I wasn't going to until we talked tonight. But the appraisals was around 267. That's just for the property, the building and stuff like that.
Do we, on that building in particular, is there anything we need to worry about environmental impact? Seems how it was a filling station at one time.
There's always, and we're going to talk about environmental.
Yes, we should worry about that. Just my 10 cents.
Okay.
Sure that wasn't a quarter.
Whatever you want to charge, Joe. You know, attorneys like to charge per word, so maybe it was a quarter.
We could still we could still call for a phase 1 on it if you want.
So then that's gonna call, they're gonna say you need a phase 2 after that.
Well, there's a good chance. I mean, I'm not the expert here, so.
My strong recommendation, if you really want to pursue that property, is that we would do a phase 1. And if the phase 1 did not come back clean, that we would do a phase 2. So just know that if you do want to pursue that property, you're probably looking at some money that you're going to put forward just to see if it's even feasible to purchase.
What if our intention is just to use something as a parking lot? Where do you fall as far as the checking?
So the problem with using it as a parking lot isn't that we are like we would be able to do that, and that wouldn't be a problem if there was environmental contaminants. The problem is if anybody were to ever sue us for environmental contaminants, like if that seeped into a water system or something like that, if you purchase the property, you are going to be liable if you don't get a clean bill of health from the environmental studies, or you get a clearance letter. So my personal opinion is that it's a risk. You know, every single thing that we do is a risk. So you just kind of have to weigh those risks versus the benefits and see if that's something that you guys feel comfortable with. If you know it, and it really depends on what the environmental impact is. If there's a tiny bit of contamination, then it may not cost that much to clean it up, you know, but if there's a lot, then, you know, then we face that. But I mean, I'm always pro getting the environmental study so you know what you're walking into, and then you all can make the decision to move forward if you want to. But know that there are, you know, some risks associated with that and that sort of thing. The other thing you can do is if you we're able to find a buyer who would purchase it and negotiate with them, you can, without taking ownership, facilitate deals, right? If there was someone who wanted to buy it, and kind of work with the owner that presently owns it and the new owner, and you guys can do some of that stuff without having to take on that liability. But
I mean, it was a gas station for several years.
I believe they dug those tanks up, if I recall.
The tanks have been removed. The bigger problem was at one point was when they put the bridge in on Morrison, they ran into fuel tanks that was over there that didn't even belong to this property.
There was another station right across the
So-
street where somebody uses for a little cleanup shop or something.
Yeah, where the detail shop is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an old station too there, so, and I'm not too sure, I wasn't where the tanks were discovered.
And who knows what the Walker
So-
Chrysler Plymouth dealer dumped in the ground when they were right there beside it for many, many years.
Yeah.
So there could be a whole.
And I mean, there are grants that municipalities can get to help with cleanup. You know, if you did take it on, you got the liability, there are grants that you all could get to facilitate cleanup. It just, the problem is you don't know what you're walking into until you do those environmental studies. And until you get an idea of what that liability might look like, we don't know if there's a grant available. We don't know if we're going to be able to get it. And we don't know if it's going to cover the total cost of remediation. And remediation can be expensive. So that's the problems. You can also sue the other owners and their insurance companies and see if you can get them to clean it up. That's another option. It really just depends on how much money is left. You know, with the Exide property, for example, that one went into an environmental trust for cleanup and they're out of money. So at this point, they did some work, but they don't have any more money. There's nothing else we can really do on that
Yeah.
one.
I guess my question tonight is do I approach him with the appraisal on it and see if he's even considering possibly doing it? I can always go back and say, then we may end up having to get a phase one and go from there.
If we would purchase the building and then we in turn sell it to a developer, does that liability stay with us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is the trouble, is that once you take on ownership, if you don't get a clean environmental study, then you are in the chain of liability. Even if you didn't do anything, you could potentially try and make an argument like, hey, we owned it for 10 minutes, don't sue us. But you're still potentially going to be named in a lawsuit and you're still going to have to show up in court, and it still probably will get turned over to your insurance company.
Whatever happened to the law spiller pays?
Well, I mean, that is a great point. The problem is that they changed the law so that whoever owns it becomes responsible, because a lot of times those like Exide go out of business, become bankrupt, and then who is going to clean it up? And then you end up with a situation where it's just
no.
Well, then you just end up with a situation where you've got this contaminant, you've got
I
this
was just throwing
brownfield.
it out there.
Yeah, I mean, you can always go after them, but
Spend a lot of money for nothing.
Well, while we're under the same topics, there's an estimate or appraisal done on where Patrick's Computers is, which is where the mural's at. And I'm running into a problem with the second appraiser. For some reason, we're not being able to, I can't get his appraisals coming through. So I've talked to Miss Shooty or Allison, and ask her if she could reach out and see if he could send the information to her and then get it to us. But on that property, it was appraised, she appraised it at 120. And he come back at 124. So I think everybody's familiar with the property I'm talking about. That's where I'm at right now on these appraisals. There was one being done on Raps Building, but I have not received it yet. These are the two that the appraisals have been done and confirmed and sent to us. So I'm kind of in the guidance of what the board wants on them. And then when we get done with this, we'll talk about, back machine again. So,
Going back to 308 North Main Street, if you don't mind. That's been a thorn in our side for a long time now.
I was dark headed and
Yeah.
everything else back when I started on that.
How long are we going to wait on her to do something? I mean, we kind of got gentleman's agreement. She was going to sell for 25 and then she's backed out on that. So why don't we proceed, or the city proceed with getting something done on this? So we're
That,
not waiting
and of
another
course,
year.
unfortunately, that's not my call.
Right.
However, I kind of vented to Eric a little bit ago because of the city side. I have a meeting set up with the mayor. She's been pretty sick here lately, so I've backed off, but I have a meeting with her discussing some of this on these properties.
Okay.
It's best I can tell you right now. I mean, I don't think anybody in this room has a problem if a property stays on the tax roll, and they can fix it. But the problem is resolving our problems, which is dilapidated buildings. Nothing's been done to them for a long time, so that's kind of where I'm at. Nothing happens until we seem like we go in and do an appraisal, and now we get people coming and saying, hey, I got potential investors in both of these properties.
This isn't up for us to decide, I guess, but what's the city's liability if a homeless person has the roof crash on him when he's in there? When we knew the building was open and we've done nothing about it.
I'm not disputing that, and it is condemned right now.
I mean, with the condemnation on it, I think that if someone enters that building, they're warned that this building is not safe. And that has been done, and it has been, I believe there's a sign up, and I think they have all the entrances and exits blocked to the best of my knowledge. But the last time that the city went to do something on it, there was a person that was going to buy it and they asked for more time, and then they ghost us. And so this is what we run into over and over again is we try to move forward on it, and then someone's going to purchase it and, oh, please give us more time, and then we end up in the exact same spot. And that's been the song and dance that we've had with this property for the last year.
Yeah, this is the one I keep saying I take 2 steps forward and then 4 steps back. And it's not me. I just soon pursue it and
Yeah,
say,
I just like to never
we're
have to
done.
discuss it
But
again.
of all the properties, this one's been the biggest nightmare for me.
Well, I hope it sells. I won't vote for any more money on this thing. That's gone too long. I hope it does sell and gets back on the tax roll at this point, or it's condemned.
I agree.
And the condemnation allows for it to be torn down.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the future or possible purchasers on that building had come to me, and my statement to them is please evaluate this thing, because if you think you're going to fix it, I want you to know up front all the stuff that's wrong with this building. Again, I'm not going to go into details, but that's where we're at,
Well, why do we give them more time? Why do we do that?
Why do we give them more time?
Yeah, why?
Well, because if the city goes forward with a condemnation action, we have to go through the court process to do that. That's expensive and time consuming. And if somebody is legitimately going to purchase it and rehabilitate it, that's better for the city than expending $25,000 to $30,000 of their own money to tear this building down, plus all of the court costs and the time associated with that. So the hope is
on the property.
right. And so the hope is that
But you're also given the opportunity for us to move forward with it, because now the structure is down. It's clear.
I don't disagree with you. I think the rationale, though, in the past is that if people, like, we had a meeting with someone who was interested in buying it. They came to the table, they talked to us. If they have an ability to purchase it, it's always better for someone to tear it down themselves than for the city to pay $25,000 to $30,000 to tear it down.
Well, I understand that. I went through this back when I was with the city.
Mhm.
We had a house, and we kept hearing the same old stories. We're going to do this, this, and this.
Mhm.
Finally, I took them to court. We won the judgment. We tore it down.
And I mean, we can absolutely do that. The reason that it hasn't been done, though, is because the last time that we had the conversation about tearing it down, someone came forward and said, we're going to buy it, and asked for more time. And again, the city wanted to try and work with people to the extent that they could. The problem is that then they ghosted us and we never did anything with it again. Then the redevelopment commission was going to buy it again. So then it wasn't going to be, it's just a process that has continued on and on and on. And at some point it needs to just end. It's just, is this something that is going to end because it gets purchased? Is it something that's going to end because the city does go to court and tear it down? Or is it something that's going to end because the redevelopment commission pays $20,000 and buys it?
And again, the part about that is the pursuing of the demolition from your guys' end has nothing to do with us at this point.
No.
Other than we're trying to do our due diligence and giving them an option what to do, but our hands get tied, it seems like. So,
well, the other challenge that we've had with this property is that the ownership of it is questionable as well. And in order to move forward with the condemnation action, you would have to have service on whoever actually owns it. And right now they're telling us that it's Barb, but I have not seen any evidence to that effect that she officially owns it and that there's not additional persons involved. We would need service on all of them. And I don't have contact information for half of the
I'm just going by the building
owners.
Inspector's information.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
So
that's the thing. I don't know if they have confirmation of who actually owns the property and has the authority to move forward. So that's another challenge that can be overcome if the city decides to move forward with the condemnation action. We just have to find the people.
So staying in the same topics, but changing the subject, going back to Patrick's, does the board feel okay to go ahead and let our counselor here draft a proposal to try to buy that property?
Well, I think so. We've paid the money for the appraisals. Obviously, our intent is there, so.
Okay.
I have no problem with the purchase. I do think we ought to have some kind of a contingency plan on what we're gonna do with it, since we do not have the mechanism of the upkeep of the building. Are we gonna turn around and try to remarket it, or are we going to, we talked previously about having, like a property manager we could pay?
I'm hoping this will all come out, Eric, in the comprehensive plan. But I will tell you that I have potentially 2 investors that are looking at that property right now, if we get it. So, I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm just saying that I've had 2 people approach that could be interested in it. They asked me about our appraisal on it, and I just don't feel comfortable us doing the work and giving people our information. So, so that's where I'm at. We'll take it one property at a time. But I think I can't think of her name, Keever's her last name, that owns it. So what's the board's pleasure on that one? One was at 120, one was at 124.
And this has the priority of having the mural repainted. This is not one we're even considering tearing down.
No. This is getting our hands on that property, at least having access to be able to get on there, recap that roof along that wall, which will protect the rest of that mural.
Does Patrick Richardson want to continue to be the tenant?
I haven't talked to him.
Okay.
That ain't my place right this second to go in and talk to him about it. So I'm dealing with more on her than I am her tenant. But I'm going to say, yeah, he would probably like to stay. So again, I'll put it back to the board.
And the maximum price that you could offer would be the average of those 2 appraisals.
22.
Yes.
She's got it listed, I think, at 150 or 155.
It is
is
listed
what
right
she-
now.
Well, I think that's what she's asking. I can't ask if it's listed, but that's what she's asking for when she was originally asking. I think she's at a point that she would entertain a decent offer anyway, so.
Are you looking for a motion on this to proceed?
Yes,
Well, if we're gonna spend the money for the appraisals, we can't get cold feet and say, no, we changed our mind, we don't want to buy it. So I'm gonna make a motion and say, we offer this lady that owns the building 122 for it.
okay. Have a second.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You can take care of getting that kind of drafted up.
Yes. Do we have contact information for
I'll
her?
get it for you.
Perfect.
Okay, and does the board, is it okay if I approach Dave's Automotive and at least talk to him, see if he's going to even entertain that portion of it?
Once again, we've done appraisals on that building.
We have. I'm not saying we'll offer yet, but I'm
Goes
saying,
back
you
to what
know,
I just said, if, you know, I don't know.
I agree.
I don't know, what our thoughts was when we decided to go for the appraisal. If we felt like 260 would be out of our price range, I really don't know what that building's worth.
So,
I guess I cannot imagine us taking that property and not clearing it. So I know the city was interested in the McCollum property for a parking lot. Kind of makes sense, goes along with our parking study. But if you get both properties together, then we do have obviously the opportunity for other development opportunities. But I think if we're going to talk about a offering for that, I think it ought to be based upon having money to tear it down too. Because that I don't see us getting a renter in a time frame. I think if Joe would move out of that, if we purchased it, then we'd be looking at demo.
Well, I guess the first thing we're gonna have to do before we make an offer is we're gonna have to do a, environmental impact study.
Does the county have any dog in this fight for the environmental? Seeing how the ditch is there, there's a certain amount of land that they control along the ditch bank?
I mean, the part that's their land, they would presumably have control over, but if we are asking to purchase it, the county's not gonna, I don't think the county would have any reason to contribute to
I
an
know you
environment.
can't build within, I think it's 25 foot of the edge of the ditch bank back.
Mhm.
Does that belong to the owner or does that belong to the county?
I would have to look. I
I'm just
don't know.
wondering, I mean, do they have ways to, I don't know what they did across the road there at the old gas station or the old
yeah, I don't,
car dealership there. But I know that was a sticky deal because that postponed that project for
Put a hold on it, but yeah.
several months.
but
I'm just wondering because
I don't know the answer to that question. I'd have to research it.
I know.
John, I'll go back on your question. And here's the only thing I was looking at is the phase one, I can entertain. What I'm looking at is to be able to go to him and say, he knows how this system works. He knows that our appraisals come in. I can't offer him 100,000 more than what it is. So he knows that. So if I approach him with what the appraisal was and tell him then we still got to do an environmental study, then I just need him to say yay or no, I wouldn't take that much for or less
I guess
lease
that's where
for.
we need to start is if you let him know that, we're interested in paying this much, but we've got to do an environmental impact study before we can make that, because if that comes back bad, then suddenly his building's not worth
Well,
260, I would assume.
And
Mm.
the lawyer will tell you here in a minute, we're getting ready to talk about this on the other property.
Okay.
So
For
it
the
kind of
record,
goes hand in hand, you know?
yeah, for the record, I always recommend an environmental study on every property you ever want to purchase, even if we don't think it has environmental contaminants. I'm just going to throw that out there. Y'all can decide the risk associated with different buildings, but I'm just, for the record, that's my
So
position.
you're saying we should backtrack on our last motion and get environmental impact in the study on the?
I mean, I would recommend that. That would be what I recommend.
I don't
but
think, once again, I wasn't there when that building was built. I can't think of anything that would have been in there that might have been something like that, but I don't know the answer to that.
We talking Main Street?
Yeah.
yeah, Patrick's
No,
computer.
I can't see.
I mean, you can forego it, but
I mean,
that's
all of
always
them
my
either had
position because then we
coal or
limit the
oil
liability.
burners in
Could have been a
them
lot
at
of
one time.
asbestos.
I say what our last,
Yeah.
That could be.
our last, what is it, stage one or however they, was what,
2,700.
Yeah, that's cheap insurance.
I mean, I would agree.
And the problem now is reached out to another company on another phase 2 for Mac Machine. The problem there is trying to get them to give me a price. And I think we've stretched our limit out on this, me trying to find another company to
Yeah.
do it. So Augustus Hook had given us a price to do phase 2 on Mac Machine, and that is in the amount of 16,900, I believe. 16,600 for phase 2. So that being said, that's them coming in. This is the company that Alicia had do the phase 1, so they're aware of phase 1. But this is the copy. Now, phase 2 calls for borings and stuff like that. So that's why the cost is so much more.
So was the phase 1 termed inconclusive or sufficient contaminant to merit a phase 2?
You want to answer that?
It wasn't, they didn't have any. So the problem with the phase 1 is if there is any indication that it could be contaminated, they recommend a phase 2 and they won't say it's a clean phase 1. And so, I don't think that they said for sure it's contaminated. They just said that we need to do a phase 2 because they had enough evidence from its prior uses and things that were around it that would warrant a phase 2. So I mean, for the Dave's building, back to that one, we could just go ahead and have them do a phase 2 and skip the phase 1 probably. I mean, so that's potentially saving $2,700. But yeah, so basically what they said was that they couldn't give a clean phase 1.
Would there have been a record of when those tanks were removed of somebody certifying they had mitigated any potential environmental impact by removing those tanks?
No, the owner might have a record, but I don't believe there's any public database where I could get that.
That would be a good thing to ask
I
Dave.
think the biggest, yes. I think that's, I don't know. I mean, this is back to the lawyer question. How somebody can buy from one person to the next and the bank sign off because they're giving them the money.
Well, I mean, the bank
know?
the bank has to do their own due diligence on it.
I
So-
understand that, but I'm just, what was the question on Mac Machine? And he said the bank gave him a letter of good standings or something. And
the bank has a different, there's a phase 1 and a phase 2 and that process. And then there's a different process that is just a very cursory look. And they did that. And that doesn't give you any protection. So you could do that, but that's not going to give you the liability protection. You have to have the environmental study from the phase 1 in order to get the liability protection. But that's a bank problem, not an us problem. So,
now, the problem
I don't
here
know.
is in good faith, he's basically accepted the offer that we made him, which was a lot less.
Go back to Mac Machine.
Yes.
We're bouncing around.
I know, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
But,
I'm causing chaos.
We paid for the phase 1. He's getting antsy, the seller is getting antsy, and that's understandable because now we've been talking for a while on this. I know it's $16,600, but my recommendation is if we're gonna go any farther, we either wash our hands of it now or we go ahead and get that phase two. And see where we're at.
He did email me and he said, he asked me what direction the RDC was moving. He's thinking that he's going to have to put it back on the market until we have a signed purchase agreement in his hand. So just so you know, that was the communication I received from him.
Were we not waiting on him to move out?
Well, no, we didn't give him a signed purchase agreement until we got the environmental back, because if we sign the purchase agreement, then we're obligated to move forward with the purchase, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't have the environmental contamination. So no purchase agreement has been fully executed at this point, and we haven't done that because we wanted to get that environmental done.
I mean, he's been good to work with, but I can see where he would start getting a little frustrated.
Yeah, it's been like 3 months.
So.
I agree. We need to act on it. We need to make a decision and,
You know, and then once we get this phase two back, we just paid this guy till the end of the year, so we'll put him in work in it. So.
If you don't mind interjecting, I don't mean to step.
No,
on
go ahead.
toes, just as we're having a conversation, I maybe recommend amending the purchase agreement to add a due diligence period during which you would be allowed to conduct the phase two while you're under contract. And then you would have protection inside of that purchase agreement that if the phase two reveals something that meaningfully altered the status of the property, you'd be able to back out of that at no fault.
We can absolutely do that, but I think
Keeps it from getting it back on the market.
if we wanted to do that, we can absolutely do that. I have no problem with that. I think with this particular seller, I don't know that that's really gonna help the situation because we're still waiting on the phase two, and he's been really great in that he's just been patiently waiting, and he knows what's going on because I've been keeping him abreast of it. But we can do that. That is absolutely correct. And in any future agreement, that would be my recommendation, is that we do put that contingency in there and then sign the agreement.
I'll fall back and say that either we do the phase two, or we probably just wash our hands.
Just FYI, I still have a first for Patrick's purchase. I never got a
Oh,
second and a
I'm
vote on
sorry.
that.
Thank you
saying.
for bringing that up.
just jumping around all over.
I told you 2 steps forward, 4 back. Okay, we got a motion on Patrick's
And
to,
again, to interject, I would just recommend doing a phase one on that property. That will probably come back clean. I
maybe
would
they'll
think.
give it cheaper if they get the phase two.
Maybe, but I would just recommend that that's part of the, like, we can still make the offer if we want to do that, but we would just want to say contingent upon a clean phase one.
Okay.
Would be
Do I
my
hear a
recommendation.
second? This is on Patrick's.
Are we doing a contingency?
I guess I need to modify my motion that we offer the 122 with the contingency that we are going to do a phase one environmental impact study. And if that comes back clean, the offer will be 122.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I would say next, let's just talk about the phase two and see what we're gonna do.
Well, I think we need to make a decision on this Mac machine building. I think we should do it and get the phase two done.
Especially what the investors that's wanting to go in there is wanting to do. And you had one investor talk to you. I've got one talking to me. And both of them are probably hinging on some type of food. So I think that's what I'm looking at.
It's a very unique location. It's got a lot of potential. So we've already, as you mentioned earlier, we've come this far. So I will make the motion that we do a phase two on that property.
I'll second that.
Okay. I have a motion, a second to go ahead and do the phase two on whatever property address that is, but still Mac machine. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Any new business? No.
Do we
Go ahead.
want to set up a phase one? Do we need to make a motion for phase one on the?
We can,
doing
and
that
hopefully
next
boss lady here can
Sorry,
talk
on
to
which
him.
property are we talking about now?
back to Patrick's.
Back to Patrick's. Okay.
With
Yes.
with your contingents recommending on that.
We put that in there.
That was
That was in the motion, but do we want to go ahead? Do you want me to go ahead and get the phase one scheduled? Is the question that Jeremy is asking.
He's asking if we need to do a motion on allowing you to do a phase one.
I don't know that we need to do a motion. We'll have to approve the price. So I can go ahead and get a quote for that and get it back to you. And then,
So then we're waiting another month before we're doing all that?
well, unless you want to give me a not to exceed
What was the cost on the other?
2,700
We made the motion.
The motion includes her doing that.
contingent upon that. Yeah.
The offer is contingent upon that phase one being good, and there's no more action. We should have to take the phase one as good.
Well,
Well,
that's true, but she has to approve the price.
So, right. So the price of the phase one, you all would need to approve. So we could do a not to exceed $3,000. And then I would have the authority to go ahead and hire the company to do that.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
that we have a phase one study done on, I don't know the address of this building.
60 West.
I think it's 250.
250. I don't know.
North Main,
250 North Main
I
Street,
believe.
not to exceed $3,000.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second then, to allow the phase one up to $3,000. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Now, have you guys keep me straight and narrow? Is there anything else?
Can we go back to the Dave's Radiator Building?
Yes.
Can you have a conversation with him, ask him if he's got any paperwork about the environmental work that was done when those tanks were removed?
Okay.
And maybe that will save us a lot of trouble.
I will have a discussion with him.
I mean, that was done a long time ago. And, I'm sure the laws change all the time, but I would think if somebody
yeah.
does that today, there's some type of paper trail.
Well, the problem is the guy that actually bought it back after they removed the tanks has passed away. So I know that for a fact. So, okay, I will do that. So anything else? If not, call the meeting adjourned. Thank you. Sorry for the length.
We did good earlier.
Wanda was on me anyway.
What time did I tell you I was leaving?
6:30.
Sorry, Wanda.
Was that AM?
Joe, I will not be at the next meeting.
I know, you're gonna be